Hello, my name is Liz Boardman. I'm one of the Rick Steves tour guides, and I just want to say that we miss you. We miss you not being able to bring you around our respective countries. Now for me, I'm actually English and I cover the British Isles for Rick, and one of the places that I really enjoy bringing my guests is the National Trust village of Lacock. Now it has a special significance for me because it used to be the home of my father as well. So I wanted to do this video for you and share Lacock. I know you can't be here personally, but I really hope this brings something special for you. So one of the most important buildings within the village of Lacock is Lacock Abbey behind me. Now Lacock Abbey has had various things in its life. It started life as a nunnery, but more recently became a private residential homes, and it's one of those homeowners that we celebrate in the village. This was a gentleman by the name of William Henry Fox Talbot. Now William Henry Fox Talbot was one of the founders of something that you do, or 99% of you do. He was a founder of modern photography. It was actually back in April 1835 that he took the first photographic negative. And he took it here at Lacock Abbey. In fact, it was a photo negative of the window just above the doorway behind me. So obviously having a home like Lacock Abbey meant that the homeowners had land, and those homeowners needed people to work on their land. So basically the village of Lacock grew up as the workers' cottages and houses for working here at Lacock Abbey. Now we'd like to show you a little bit more of the village, but if it does look familiar to you, it's because Lacock Abbey has been used so many times in films and in TV programs. If we have any Harry Potter fans, 2 of the Harry Potter films have been filmed in Lacock Abbey. Pride and Prejudice, Cranford starring Dame Judi Dench, Wolf Hall, and many, many more. So after checking the time on the sundial behind, it's time to take you into the village of Lacock. So as we leave Bewley Common, we exit via a kissing gate. Now I would love to demonstrate the kissing gate to you and why we call it a kissing gate, but I need you here. So come and see us soon and we can do the kissing gate. So at the moment we're in the ford area of the village. Now the ford area is a crossing of a shallow river. That's an Old English term, ford. This is why we have the names of places like Oxford, the village of Ox, crossing over the river, shallow area. So you can see behind me it's just a trickle at the moment, and this would have been used by the horse and carts to make their way through. But here in Lacock, even now, we have houses the other side of the ford, and the only way they can access their properties is to drive through the ford itself. It looks very calm at the moment on a lovely warm day like today. It's a perfect location to play with the dogs. So I'm going to introduce you to Ziggy, my English Springer Spaniel, and his favourite pastime. Now, one of the other advantages of living in a village is it's a community. Most people know each other, and when you have some excess things, people like to sell them to other people, and this is a perfect example. This particular property grows a lot of plants and they like to sell them to the public, but we do something called honesty boxes. There's no one out here taking money. What we ask, you choose whatever you want, you know how much it is, you put the money through number 14, through the letterbox. And it's all done on honesty. So we're here in the local village church of St. Cyriacs. It's a beautiful Saxon church and made out of the local stone. And the church really is the centrepiece for any community. Now this is Church of England faith. We have many faiths in the UK, but Church of England is the highest faith that we have. And obviously the other thing that's a real community based is the local pubs. Now Lacock actually has 3 within the villages, so if you don't meet up with the fellow community in the church, you're going to meet them in the pub as well. Now this particular church, as I said, a tiny village, but we did have most of the royal family here. It was about 15 years ago, because just on the outskirts of the village, Camilla Parker Bowles, the Duchess of Cornwall, Prince Charles's wife, has her own private property. She's approximately 3 miles from where we are now, and it was her daughter who got married here. And as I said, Prince Charles, William, Kate, Harry, they all attended the wedding. Quite a coup for a very small village in England. So one of the buildings here in Lacock is called Sign of the Angel. Now these days it's a rather lovely restaurant, and it's also accommodation as well. But going back to about the 16th century, this was one of the original coaching inns. Now coaching inns were so important in this country because this is where we had most of our mail routes running from. We needed places along the actual very basic roads that could accommodate the actual postal workers as well as the horses. And one of the buildings next door to the Sign of the Angel is the old blacksmiths, because as you can imagine, it's just like a car these days with your MOT. The horses needed to be kept in tip-top condition to enable them to do the great distances. Welcome to the village school. Lacock still has a village school. Now it's actually a school with about 80 pupils, and they actually cover various age groups from age 4 up to age 11. It's lovely still to have the school in operation. Many of our village schools have unfortunately had to close and amalgamate with larger town schools, but here in Lacock it's still thriving. One of the main things they do for fundraising for the school is the Maybank holiday, which is the end of May. They do what's called a scarecrow trail, and everyone in the village takes part. Everyone builds a scarecrow with a various theme, and throughout the village we normally have about 40 of them. You then pay £1 to enter, and you've got to try and guess what each scarecrow represents, and the winner receives a prize in some way. But each year it creates thousands of pounds for the much needed village school. Now most of the buildings that we have in Lacock are mostly from the 17th century, and the building next to me is the Tithe Barn. This is no exception. Now the Tithe Barn is basically a storage area, and I mentioned to you about the homeowners of Lacock Abbey. They provided the cottages for their workers, but the workers still had to pay them rent. Now it wasn't normally done with money, it was normally done with any of their own crops or anything that they produced themselves. So throughout the year, all of this payment as such would be stored in the Tithe Barn. Now next to the Tithe Barn, just a little bit further down, we have another little building, and this is relevant for my father. This is the local lockup. Now when it came to the police, there was a community officer that used to cover Lacock. These days it's actually part of Corsham, but here is the lockup, that if anyone was a little bit boisterous in some way, they would often be put in the lockup overnight or for 24 hours just to cool off. Now my father insists there was an episode after a victory in a local football match against a rival village where Lacock won and my father was the goalkeeper, and I believe they frequented the 3 pubs in the village, and a few of them needed to sleep it out just overnight. So nothing sinister, but a perfect little B&B for someone. Now here in Lacock we still have the village allotments. Now if you're able to come and visit us, you'll see allotment areas throughout the UK, and the allotments really came into their own after the Second World War. Basically, as a nation during the war we were starving, we were on rations, we had very limited supplies, so each local authority gave over a piece of land in each community to enable people to grow some of their own fruit and vegetables. Now, it's still a very popular thing to do today because with most of our modern houses, our gardens are very small. Land in the UK is very, very expensive, so we tend to use most of the land for the construction of our houses. And people really like to grow their own things. And here in the allotment area is where the vegetables and the fruit can all be grown. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey just around Lacock. It really is a brief summary and just an overview. We would love to have you here personally and be able to spend so much more time here and give you so much more information, and to obviously try some of the local things as well, because one of the things that I like to do with any of the visitors coming across is we genuinely want you to live like a local, not just take the photos but feel immersed in it as well, and that's one of the joys of being in the position I am. I'm able to do that for you. If you've enjoyed the video clip that we've done, and I really hope you have, any donations would be gratefully received because we would love to do more of them for you, more in the surrounding area of Bath. If there was anything in particular that you wanted to know about, just pop that in the comments and we'd be happy to try and make something for you. So looking forward to hearing from you, but genuinely looking forward to seeing you soon.